You are not alone on your journey. Listen in to the Unshakable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lysa Beltz. Twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today is December 14th, which means we are only 10 days away from Christmas Eve. This year has gone incredibly fast, and I hope it's been a really good one for you. This is also my second to last episode of my podcast for this year. I am close to being able to celebrate the milestone of having done a complete and entire year, and that is just really exciting. And so one of the things I want to share is that I have created a Unshakeable Living YouTube channel. And so going forward into next year, I'll be putting all of my episodes out on YouTube, still be posting to all of the podcast apps, but you'll be able to continue finding me on YouTube and on those podcast apps. So it's the time of year, being Christmas, too many things to do, too many people to please, at least one more gift to buy. Spin, spin, spin those plates. Enjoying the season, many of us are kind of going, I'm barely surviving the season. And so then I'm going to ask you the question, and why are we doing Christmas this way? So what if we set an intention that this is going to be our most peaceful and most balanced holiday season ever? It can be different. You may still be up at 2 a.m. putting together that bicycle for your child or grandchild, but it can be fun and enjoyable, not an obligation or a task that you have to check off of a list. So balance is finding the right mix of priorities and saying a firm no to anything that isn't important. And if you need it, I give you permission to say no. No is a complete sentence. So the show this week is going to be about finding and maintaining balance, not only during the holidays, but all seasons. With a bit of thought and planning and resolve, you can enjoy the holidays and not be a victim of them. So I want to start today with thinking about what balance is. What does it look like, feel like, and sound like? So when you Google the word balance or look it up in the dictionary, some synonyms are even, and there's the old term even keel, which I don't think we hear very often anymore, poise, being poised and graceful, level, equilibrium, and confident. And so when I did some history on the word balance itself, it actually started out back in biblical times talking about scales, things being even. And so it was used in terms of a transaction. I'm paying you this much for this much goods, making sure that things were balanced and that it was a fair and legitimate transaction. And that really got me to thinking about when we have holiday gatherings, we oftentimes are around people that either make us uncomfortable or that we're not familiar with. We can feel out of balance in ourselves. And when we're out of balance, we tend to judge others. And there's a saying that talks about we are our own best defense attorney. We give ourselves more grace and we make excuses for ourselves. And we are also the best prosecuting attorney for others. And so when we think about balance, we want to make sure that those scales of justice, when we're in social gatherings or when we're around difficult people, that those scales stay balanced. Another aspect of balance is equal weights. And so when you think about your physical bodies, if you have an inner ear problem, your balance is off and things are just out of kilter. And so the ear plays a critical role in our physical health. But again, when you're in a group of people, when you're in a holiday setting, whether it's a family gathering or a party, or particularly if you have to go to something that's really obligatory, where you're not sure you really want to be there, use that hearing to hear what's being said and also what's not being said. A lot of the difficult people that we run into at the holidays are really covering up an inner issue of their own. Either they're hurting, they're lonely, they're insecure, they're wounded. And so one of the tricks and tips for staying in balance as you go into the holidays is walking in with that calm confidence in yourself and being willing to give grace and compassion and kindness to others, especially those who don't appear to deserve it. Oftentimes, the most difficult people are the most hurting people, and they're the ones that need that grace. Now, I'm not going to tell you that they're not going to grate against you, but when you set that intention of peace and calm confidence going into the situation, your goal is to just simply let them be themselves and not let it affect you. We want to respond with love rather than reacting to conflict. And it can be a situation where you may love that person, but you don't like them, or you may not love them or like them. And that's where love for yourself, appropriate love for yourself, really plays a key role in keeping peace in the holidays. When you love yourself and you know that you have love to give and love to push out, it prevents those negative feelings from coming in and invading your space. And in just a couple of minutes, we're going to kind of talk about energy and how to protect your energy. And so another meaning of the word balance is the word poise. And again, that poise is that calm confidence. It's going into whatever situation you may be asked to participate in, going into that with confidence in yourself. We also talk about life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And so if you are going into a new social situation, something that is different for you outside your comfort zone, that's especially where you need to find your own calm confidence and your own poise and grace so that you're okay regardless of what's happening around you. And so that meaning of poise is calm confidence in what person's way or behaving. It's a quality of grace. And so the word grace means unmerited favor. And so you're going to give grace to yourself, especially if you're in a new or uncomfortable situation, or if you're in a gathering where you've experienced any kind of uncomfort or trauma previously. That sets your brain up to go, oh, it happened last time, it's going to happen again. Not necessarily. That's where setting your intention and being very clear about why you are participating in this social gathering, even if it's family. I really want you to think about your why. And so we talk a lot about finding your why, whether you're in a business or you're doing your own journaling, your own personal growth. In this instance, I want you to think about, why am I going to this gathering? If it's going to support your spouse because it's their work event, your love for the situation, your compassion and kindness for the situation is for your spouse or a significant other or whomever you're going with. If it's a family gathering, and again, maybe it's at your mom and dad's house or an aunt and uncle's house, all of the family is there, both those you like and those you dislike. Again, be clear about why you're going into that situation. And if you cannot come to a good, solid why, it's out of love and respect for your parents, it's love and respect for your spouse or significant other,
you genuinely want to go because there are going to be people there that you like. If you can't check off any of those boxes, I want you to seriously think about not going. One of the biggest tools that you can use in keeping your own inner peace and balance in this holiday season truly is giving yourself permission to say no. And I actually know someone who a couple of years ago just flat out said no to going to Christmas Eve at their parents' house. And it was a way of setting a boundary and saying, when I'm there, you don't respect me, so I am not coming. The good news is that the ending of that was the family kind of recognized that she was serious about this. She did go over for Christmas Day, and it was a much better situation. And as one of my coaches said, choose your hard. Either you choose the hard of saying no and not going, or you make the choice. You are in the driver's seat of your life. You are not going out of obligation. You are not going because someone expects you to, someone told you to. You are going because you choose to. Once you set that expectation of yourself, once you set that boundary, then you can go ahead and go into those situations with that calm confidence. You can go in knowing that regardless of what happens around you, you're there because you choose to be, and you're going to be okay. And if something comes up where you're genuinely not okay anymore, it's okay to say, I'm not feeling well. I need to leave. And if you and your spouse are there together, take an Uber, do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. And that may mean leaving early. So we're going to talk about protecting your energy. And so again, why do we talk about energy? Thoughts create emotions, and emotions generate energy. You know how you can walk into a room and either feel the tension, or when you go home, and it's wherever home is, that is that warm, loving, accepting feeling. That's kind of the energy that I'm talking about. When you have a group of humans together, you all are generating emotional vibrations or emotional energy. And we can put up boundaries and protect our own energy. And so your energy is a natural resource, just like time and money are. And it's taken me a few years to work at this, but if you will just visualize putting a bubble or a shield around yourself, and for any of those of you who have seen the Black Panther, the shield that comes down over Wakanda, that invisible shield, that shield that keeps the bad guys out, that's the visual that you want to have. You want to say out loud, I only allow in light and love, and I am only pushing out light and love. And so as you put boundaries up and protect your own energy, it allows you to stay safe and calmly confident and poised inside your bubble, regardless of what's going on around you on the outside. And so we're going to take a really quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk some more about energy. And then we're going to get into some practical tips that you can do to control your holidays. We'll be right back. And welcome back. This is Coach Lysa, and we're talking about maintaining balance through the holidays. And just before the break, we were talking about protecting your energy. And so again, energy occurs when you have a group of people in a room. It can be positive energy or negative energy. You hear people talk about high vibe and low vibe. High vibe is when you're operating in that arena of light and love, acceptance of yourself. And that's where you want to be, and that's where you want to stay during this holiday season. If you can keep yourself high vibe, or keeping yourself in that light and love and positive energy, everything just seems to fall into place better. And so we talked about energy being a natural resource. Then we were talking about putting a shield up. And so again, I love the example of in the Black Panther, the movie, where they put the shield around Wakanda. It's that invisible force field or force shield that keeps the bad stuff out and the good stuff in. And so that's what you're going to do by setting a boundary. You're not changing anyone else. You're not controlling anyone else. You are simply controlling yourself. We are encouraged to manage our thoughts and not allow negativity into our imaginations. And most of us, when we're going into those social gatherings, especially if we have any social anxiety, we can conjure up some pretty bad what if scenarios. Don't go there. That's where you take every thought captive. That's where you are in control, even of your own thoughts and your own imagination. And so, just as we've talked on some of my other episodes, I talk about gratitude is the key to abundance. So, being grateful unlocks gratitude. Kind of the flip side of that is expectations are the key to disappointment. And so when you're going into these situations, or maybe you're hosting Christmas at your house and you've got small children and you have this mental image of this picture perfect meal. If you've got little kids, that's probably not going to happen. And this is where you don't lower your expectations. I'm not saying that, but you set realistic expectations and you channel or focus your expectations on what do you want the feel of the room to be? How do you want people to feel when they're in your home? Do you want them to feel welcome? Do you want them to feel loved and appreciated? So set your expectations around kind of how you want things to flow, not being able to control it down to, every 30 seconds or every minute. If you've got kids, it's the holidays, they're going to act up. It's just kind of a given. Plan for it, allow for it, make room for it, let them just be themselves. And unfortunately, it's the same thing with grown-ups, right? We've all got that one difficult person in the family that comes in either grumpy or they're late or something disastrous is happening in their life. Make room and allow them to be themselves. Don't set an expectation, either positive or negative, of how they're going to be. And if you have that negative person or that difficult person, you may need to make some space for them. And again, it's like we said earlier, oftentimes those are the people that need care and love and compassion, and they repel people because they're insecure. They repel people because they're hurting. And so they come across very harsh on the outside or very needy because what they really want is love and acceptance, but they don't think they're going to get love and acceptance. So they act out so that they're pushing you away before you have a chance to reject them. And so when you're looking at people, going back to this concept of balance and the scales of justice, when you're looking at other people, look deeper than the surface behavior. Go into, what do they genuinely need? And if you're willing to change how you approach that person, see if you can find one thing to compliment them on. And it may be something as simple as, hey, that sweater looks great on you. You may genuinely not be able to come up with anything positive to say about their characteristics or their behaviors, but find something. And it has to be genuine. It can't be a disingenuous, oh, I'm so glad you're here this year, unless you really mean it. They're going to pick up on that lack of authenticity. Again, that's another one of those emotional vibrations that's really easy to put out. And again, I was reading in the Bible today, and it talked about that when Jesus was with the crowd and he was trying to speak truth to the people and they didn't want to hear him, Jesus simply turned and walked away through the crowd to maintain his balance. And so again, if you're with these negative people, you're trying to speak kindness and compassion into them. You're trying to maintain your balance and not let them infiltrate you with their negativity. If it reaches a point where it's just not going anywhere, feel free to walk away. Maybe not be completely rude about it, but you also don't have to stand there and keep hitting your head against the wall. Give yourself permission to love yourself enough to remove yourself from that difficult situation, that difficult person. And so the way we change the world around us is to reflect kindness and compassion. And again, especially to those who don't deserve it. Show people grace because of who you are, not because they deserve it. Again, we mentioned earlier that grace is unmerited favor. So I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about how to find and maintain balance or poise during the holidays. And this is true for any high stress season that you might find yourself in throughout the year. One of the very first things I want to encourage you to do is to manage your calendar. Build in some white space and use that time to connect with yourself. When you are out of control, so is everything else. And white space means not having your calendar booked every night of the week until midnight. It means building in some quiet time, some reflection time. It may mean building in some exercise time. It's always a good thing for yourself if you can move. Dance to some music. Again, if you've got small kids, put on some dance music and just have a fun, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. Just that getting your body moving is going to completely unravel that stress. And the second one is knowing your why for all the things you take action on and commit to. And so again, finances is such a stressor this time of year. Know why you're buying the gifts you're buying. Again, if you're doing it out of obligation, I want to encourage you to choose your hard and don't. A heartfelt poem or letter written to someone is far more meaningful than a gift that is another scarf or another tie or something else that you feel obligated to give, they feel obligated to receive, and they're going to put it in the donation box. Just stop doing that. So know your why for your gift giving. No is a complete sentence, N-O. We live in a society where we want to explain ourselves and make excuses and justify. It really isn't necessary, and oftentimes it's not productive. If you're trying to set a boundary with someone, the word no is a complete sentence, but you have to follow through on it. You can't say no and set that boundary and then waffle on it and wonder why they keep walking all over you. Say no, set the boundary, and don't budge. Enter every conversation, gathering, party, even gift giving from a place of love. Again, if you truly cannot find love for the other person, remember the love you have for yourself and find motivation from within and find what your core values are. If one of your core values is family, you may want to give a gift to everyone in the family, and that's awesome. Absolutely go for it. But if you find yourself giving out of obligation, if you find yourself going, oh God, I've got to find something for that person, that's where you want to stop and kind of do a check, look at your motivation of your heart. And if you can't come at it from a pure motivation, you're better off to simply not do it. Redefine or reframe I have to into I choose to. We talk a lot about being in the driver's seat of your life. I have to is victim mode. I choose to is you being in control of your life. When you choose into things, it's going to bring that calm confidence because you are in control. You are in the driver's seat of your life. I choose to, whatever it is that you're doing. And when the stress comes, not if, have a plan in place ahead of time. Can you go for a walk or do some form of physical motion? Take 10 minutes to read a book, a devotional book, prayer book, an encouraging book. Pray or meditate for 10 minutes. Deep breathing. Call a friend just to chat. Don't complain when you talk to them, just check in on them. Another really great one is do a random act of kindness for someone else just because you can. For my introvert friends, go mingle and be jolly. It's good for you, but then arrange to have at least 20 minutes alone afterwards. For my extroverts who have too much time alone, find some place to go volunteer. And so those are the points and tips on finding and maintaining balance, not only the Christmas season, but the rest of the year. I hope this has served you well. My show next week is titled Unshakable Beginnings, How to Start Your Year of 2023 Unshakable. Join me for the last podcast of the year. And honestly, it's going to be my last podcast on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm not going to cry today, but I might cry next time. For now, I'm going to be moving on to my YouTube channel and still posting to the podcast apps from there. You'll still find me on the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, the typical Spotify and all the podcast apps. And into next year, who knows, I might even start posting some bonus episodes. So for this year, I pray peace, calm, and balance for the remainder of your holidays. Set the intention that this is going to be your calmest and most blessed Christmas ever. You got this. Have a great holiday and remain unshakable.
You've been listening to the Unshakable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lysa Beltz. Tune in twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Remember, God can't steer a parked car, so step on the gas now with Lysa and let Him do the rest.